told Oliver if he wants to eat integer tiles, he needs to buy his own. I need mine for class. I can't quite tell because some kids wear masks, so I'm not sure, but I know one who for sure found me. Annie, who wanted to give me crap about apparently I was a penguin last year also. But that's my go-to out. That's my go-to. You
know what? You should be creative.
I have fog machine and tiki torches. I thought that was cool. I was tired. It's kind of gonna make it. Exactly. That's the mystery. I'm the Halloween mystery.
No, you're the Halloween penguin. Mr. X told me where he lives.
Yeah, you already had a really good friends.
I didn't care where you live. Dude, I just went around in this same little block and
So, I'm not quite certain how quickly we'll cover this, right? First time through, first time doing Accelerated 7 with CPM, first time using this textbook. So, write this all down, knowing that some of it can shift. But with the outlook that we might get through all of it today, that's why I whittled down the problems to choose 4 of those and choose 3 of those. So, pick out 4 from this problem set, 3 from that problem set that you want to solve. Not just the ones that seem easy, but the ones that seem like interesting to you. I know 7th grade mentality is what's the least amount of work. But please solve the ones that you're interested in. That'll make you care more. You're like, oh, this looks interesting, not just this looks easy. So, we are going to jump around the lesson today. And again, my first time through, so please bear with me. So we will be covering sections 5.1 and 5.2, and then we will be done with this unit. So we'll be covering sections 5.1 and 5.2, and then we'll be done with this unit. So, has anybody ever looked? This is a very appropriate post. Do we all have this down?
Yeah. I have a question. You said numbers 9 to 14 or 29 to 13.
What? Yeah, 2 different problem sets from 5.1.1 and 5.1.2.
Yeah, but on 5.1.1 it goes to only 9 to 13.
What? Okay, I thought I went to 14. So to 13, choose 4 of them.
That's all of them.
No. It's
9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
You're just not doing one.
So you can pick one to not do. Sorry, I thought the problem set was even one. Come on, here. I'll be a happy Halloween. Choose 3 for me. Choose 3 for me. No. Now you're just pushing. You want to go back to 4?
No.
Learn to say thank you, not can I have another. Some of you guys, I'm not like trying to berate people. Some of you guys really need to work on your appreciation show. Like, when I hear you say, like, how many can we have and not thank you? Come on. A lot of kids last night were super polite. I saw a lot of very cute kids. So, moving on, a very appropriate post-Halloween lesson. Ever look at food labels?
Yes.
Okay, all because you put your hand in the air doesn't give you permission to talk. This is something you need to address. So, Izzy, you had your hand in the air. What sort of stuff can be found on a food label?
Total fat, number of salt, the ingredients,
Yeah, so in the nutrients facts table, which is actually like a table, we see one here. We see, and let me zoom in on this even further. And I have a few different food labels we may investigate at some point. I haven't yet figured out how quickly this week can go. Serving size, which, by the way, your candy that you got last night, probably all the serving sizes are 1 piece, but they've gotten smaller over time. So if you compare a bite-sized Snickers 3 years ago to a bite-sized Snickers now, they're smaller because of good reason. We don't need to be ingesting so much sugar and bad stuff. So they tell you how much you should ingest at a time. And then, what does this servings per container mean? Go ahead.
How many servings are in the can?
So how big of a container could we figure out this is? 4 cups, right? If a serving is 1 cup, and you in the container get 4, your container would be 4 cups. Do we understand how that works? That's how I can calculate how many pieces of candy there are in a bag even when it doesn't tell you. If it says the serving size is 17, and, okay, here, let's do this. Dum Dums. By the way, I'm getting new stockpiles of candy because we're post-Halloween. A serving size is 3 pops. Now, this is going to be really hard math from, okay? 3 Dum Dums is 1 serving, which is miraculous. No, you cannot take 3 when I give these away. Not today. These are for prizes. And there are, in this container, approximately 100 servings. How many Dum Dums would be in a new container? Class? 300, right? Now we know, and that they advertise it on the front, but a lot of food, you can do the math pretty easily on your own and figure out your quantity. Now, all of these values are percent daily value per serving. So if this says that you're getting 18, let's just round this, 20% of your daily fat. What if you eat the entire container? How much of your fat did you get? What is about 20% times 4 servings? 80. Right? We'd be at almost 80% of our daily fat. That would be bad. And people do this. For real. They don't realize it. They're like, oh, it's fine. It's only 15%. And then they eat 5 servings of it, which is 75%. Because the percent doesn't stay the same. You multiply the more you eat. So realize all of these are like unit rates. It's per 1 serving. And then a lot of stuff has a lot of calcium or vitamin C. This stuff, that's why there's a big black bar between it. You can go over on these and it's not that bad. If you go over on these, like especially way over, it's not good. So you can have like 1,000% of your daily vitamin C. 1,000%. 10 times what you're, and that's okay. Like that's if you ate a bunch of oranges one day or something.
You just binge watch something, but instead of eating candy, you ate oranges.
You binge ate, yeah. So you could make yourself ill from too much of a certain vitamin or nutrient, but normally that would not happen. So now that we understand food labels, let's talk about, I think we all get that. How many grams after? So, using this, Cheesy Mac, using this label, can you as a team, I don't want you to like out loud to the whole group, can you as a team figure out how much saturated fat they think you should consume in a day? This is according to the Surgeon General. You're allowed to have some saturated fat. It's like, it's okay. It's not terrible for you. And like non-saturated fats are okay. Like you can get natural fats. According to this food label, how much saturated fat should you eat in a day? How many grams? Take like a minute or two. It is grams, you're correct. Yeah, you do. There are 4 servings in the container. How big is a serving? It's a cup. So that tells you take 4 times the serving size. But that's not really what it's asking. You know what you're talking about.
You okay? Your eyes are watering. You like have an allergy? Am I boring you? I'm sorry. I agree. I think there's something in the air here that I don't like.
I can sleep for 12 hours and still be insane.
That's impressive. So I'm glad it's not just me. Cards.
No, please, I don't get this. No, please don't call me.
That's the point of cards, is to figure out who doesn't get it and help them. So we'll shuffle. We haven't shuffled in a while.
They should go first.
No, we're gonna start in the middle of the deck actually, so I can't even see.
But what if May's at the
I didn't for a while. All right, first up, Rachel.
Okay. So what we did was we figured out how many times 15 could go into 100, and it goes in 6.6 repeating times. And so then we multiplied 6.
I don't like repeating decimals. Fractions are nicer.
Okay, so we multiplied 6 and 2/3 times 3 grams.
Now, I do agree. In the calculator, I would type in 6 point and just like a bunch of sixes because the fraction would take a little bit longer to type in. But when I write it, I write mixed numbers. Just saying why. And what'd you get? So you did this times your 3 grams.
We got 20 grams.
About 20 grams. Anybody have, so Bilal, you said you didn't get this. So to rephrase their process, and we'll check if you understand, they said, well, I can have 100%, right? That's what I'm supposed to have. How many of these 3 grams would it take to make 100%? So how many 15% does it take to make 100? Just like if I used my 18%, we could say, well, that's about 20%, about 5, right? I could do times 5, and the total fat that we're supposed to have in a day is about 60 grams. I do the same thing here with 15%, but that's 6 2/3 times your 3 grams, gives you about 20. Make sense? Yes. That's okay. Yes, rounding is okay. That is okay. We are doing approximate. All right, does this make sense? Sweet, we're moving on to problem 3. Not problem 2, problem 3.
2 boxes of cheesy mac and have about my whole percentage of saturated fat. Like it's
2 boxes.
2 boxes.
2 boxes, you'd be over.
2 servings.
2 servings.
Because it's 4 servings.
Yeah, I was about to say there's 4 servings in each box, so each box would be 4 times 15, which is what? 60. So if you ate 2 boxes, you'd be at what percentage? 120, which that is a situation where we're allowed to use percents bigger than 100. Right? I said like percents bigger than 100 bother me because you can't give 110% like your coach tells you to. Don't tell your coach he's wrong. But when you say I ate 120% of the fat I was supposed to, that makes sense. Right? So think about, does it make sense? Check out 5-3. I'm not even going to say anything. Look at it with your team. See what you think. Bless you. If you get done with 3, we're going to be doing 3 through 6. You can move on if you want. We're not saying what does it represent as like number, like verbal. What would it represent? By the way, what does ratio mean? Comparison, right? It says comparison. Formally, a ratio is comparing piece to piece, right? Whether that other piece is whole or not. Here they're comparing piece to total. Ratio is just comparison of 2 values. Oh, another one. We can write it. What is this? Is it colon or semicolon? Ooh, there's always debate. I'm going to leave it for you guys. I love leaving you the thing that you...
Is it a semicolon like this?
About 30 seconds, we're going to talk about this one.
Well, this is a semicolon.
Cheesy math. We can't say easy math. We'll get in trouble. That's got All right,
Number. The answer is a number.
Bouvendier. When we look at 3 over 20, how could you verbally explain what that ratio is showing?
If you convert it into 1500, it's showing, and the total is 20. The max,
Okay.
3 is how much max?
So we're going to use the word compared. We would say we're comparing what compared to what?
Comparing
Yeah, I agree. Another way that I would say this,
Is how many are per serving to the total you should have?
parts to what? Part to whole. We're just making a part to whole ratio. So please write that down. What 3 to 20 actually is showing is your part to whole. Now, when we have a part to whole ratio, we can then quickly and easily normally get to a percentage. And they show this in B, saying 1500ths and 3/20ths are 2 different ways to compare the same thing. How can you show that the ratios are equivalent? What CPM thing do we use to show equivalent fractions?
Something.
Ian?
Oh, no,
I know, get your cards up.
okay.
So if I were to try to show 3/20ths is equal to 1500ths, how could I do that? Yes, but what simple math? What would need to happen? Times by 5? So just that? That's what you said. Dude, that's what you said. What'd you... That's it. What did you mean to say? That's not my fault you went trick-or-treating. Shh, everybody else stop talking for a minute. So you said multiply the 3 by 5. Multiply the 20 by 5. What do we call this? What have we've been working with this the whole year.
The big one.
Shit. Quit.
Me too, Mr. Hudson.
Okay, joke and sit
I'm
down.
a teacher now.
I'm a teacher now.
I would love that. You gonna teach them? What I said, everybody else stop talking for a minute. I'm trying to get Ian to a point of learning.
Because he's the one that
Say I don't learn.
Ian, say it with me. Giant 1. Say it with me. Giant 1. Giant 1. Why do we call that the giant 1? Ian. What are we showing in the 1?
Oh, the whole. Yeah.
A number. I will move on as soon as we get through with a number. What is the bar? Anything he's being like dramatically.
Yeah, way too dramatic.
No. What's the bar? This we would read this as 5. What 5?
Oh my god.
5/5. There you go. 5/5. 5 divided by 5. 5 parts out of 5. Whatever. It makes 1 because same numerator and denominator. Thank you. We'll move on. So
That's what
we.
like. I do.
I just need you to articulate it. He's not so dumb. He's tired. He probably is in a candy coma. Either way, my job is to make sure you know how to explain it, right? Not just that it's in your head, but that you can get it out, right? So sorry. I appreciate you hanging on with me. 5-4. Try it with your team.
Go, guys.
Right, let's read it. Why are you gonna mark it?
Hey, I'm going to throw this up on the TV, but then I got to reorient. So those of you without a book out, it's going to get small for a second.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Okay, another thing I want to say again here, just to reiterate, this is real math. So the nutritional information they're giving you here is real math. So like the actual daily values and everything. For those of you who might be even more interested in this, because my wife is amazing. More dietary label. She's very nice. More dietary label information. She's nicer than me because she teaches elementary. It was my second one anyways. My first one's at home, locked up, but it doesn't fit. But yeah, I was doing much of that. It's not kind of good. It cost $7 on Amazon. I'll buy a new one. But I picked the boat, so easy. It was what? We gotta move on for a second. And one of the yellow jugs, and you can't tell because you're expecting milk. Okay. Ava, this is coming to you. This next question in about 30 seconds. Yeah, like how we process through. So when it says what percent of fiber should we get from other foods, why is this percent equivalent to the ratio of 21 to 25? Essentially it's saying to get to 100%, to get his daily amount of fiber. Yes. So when we do this, right, they ask us first thing, put the label for 16%. Then we could say, well, 4 grams is 16%. So I could say, all right, 4 grams is 16%. How can I get to 100%? So that's how we figure out part of this ratio. Do you know what number? Wait, minus.
And 4 over 25 is equivalent to
4%. We don't 4%, 4 grams. How do we multiply and go from 16 to 100? What do we multiply by? Close. Close.
Try it.
So what is 100 divided by 16? Help your team out. What's 100 divided by 16? That has to happen on the top. Careful, we're not adding subtraction and multiplying.
60%.
All right, bring it back together, please. If you did not copy that line onto your paper, please do so real quickly. This, the diagram. Yeah. A says copy the diagram. Oh. I thought you said where we supposed. So, Ava, your group and I were chatting about this. We added the 16%, and then what were we doing? Can you explain to the class what we did?
So since we did that, like 4 grams is 16%, then we had to get to 100%, so we had to multiply it 16 by something to get 100, and add the 6.5.
So another way we use ratios is just two things that are related, right? So we related, we were all just discussing up here, we related 4 grams is 16%. Two different values. I could kind of get a unit rate, how many grams per 1% if I really wanted. I could break that down and be like 0.25 grams or something. But if we set up this, what do we call a fraction equal to a fraction? Big word, I'll make it worth candy. Nice, say it louder. It's a proportion. We've talked about this as proportional. When things are changing proportionally, a proportional relationship. 2 equal fractions shows proportionality. Excuse me. So what I do in the denominator, I have to do in the numerator. This is giant 1. Just another way to write it. Right? My giant 1 is this 6.25 and the other on top 6.25. Yeah. Probably took you 5 minutes to get there.
You literally said nothing.
All right, so what do we get in the numerator then when we do that? 25, which tells me what? If these were equal, right? 4 grams equaled 16%, then these are gonna be equal. 25 grams will be 100%. So out here, we can now label 25 grams. The relationship. Hey guys, can we focus with me, please? You're just goofing off. Like, you're not even trying. At least fake it. Come on. The relationship that you see with 25 compared to 100, and people keep saying, like, oh, it's a 4, it's 4. That is actually your unit rate. 1% is 1/4 of a gram. Because if I relate this out to 1 on the bottom, divide by 100, divide by 100, I'd get 0.25 grams is 1%. Another proportion. This is why we've been working so much with proportions. Yeah, so see me after class. So why C? Why did they write that fraction? I'll use a card, but I was going to do it. Go on.
Because that's how many more we need to get to the total amount.
Yeah, that's how much more she needs to get today. What percent would that be equal to? We should know pretty quickly. 84, right? It's the percent that we need to get there. So this gap of missing is 21 grams, and this gap of missing is 84%. We need to get the rest of our fiber. Eat some hummus. Hummus is really good. Chickpeas, garbanzo beans, it's really good. So we got those. Waffles are very good. So wait, Chris is eating cookies. They have 12 grams of fiber. He says that's going to be 48% of his intake. How can you use ratios to check if what he said is true? Take, I think you only probably need like a minute with your team. Check if what he said is true.
I'm checking right now. You was right.
Hey, I want to pose another question. Can you find the other unit rate? Instead of 1%, can you find 1 gram? Keep working. Can you find the other unit rate? We found a unit rate 1% is 1/4 gram. But what would 1 gram?
25%. Right.
Dude, I hope you're joking. Zen, is his math right?
Yeah,
Why? Because while you're talking, you're hiking up your pants, getting ready for the flight. I mean, if you ask why they're lat, that's why. I do that when I'm hot too. Your ankles release your heat. Keep going.
But because we know 4 grams is 60%, then you're dividing both 60% and 4 by 4 to get 1 gram, which would be equal to 4%.
Mm.
Then if you make them 1 gram over 4%, and then multiply them by the big one, 4 over 4, then you get 4 grams, which equals 60%.
Yeah, it gets back where we started. Now, there's another way we can do this too with just the math where we started.
This is way easier. I saw an immediate connection by 12 and 4, and in my mind I did 12 divided by 4 equals 3, and then 16 times 3 equals 48.
So again, you use the giant 1. So Will's giant 1 was relating 12 grams is 3 times 4 grams. Your giant 1 is 3 over 3, because we multiply by 3 in both places, is 16 times 3, 48. And you know that his math is right. 9? And the grams are always a fourth of, yeah, I like it. Another proportional relationship there. That P word. Alright, yeah, we're supposed to do 5.
Let's do 5. Let's do this, people.
I bet you can do this in 3 minutes. Try to knock this out in 3 minutes. This is now vitamin C. Do you braces or no? You braces?
On the back of it? She needs 10.
I don't eat candy very often. That was a gift from a student.
I'm not talking. I got homemade Laffy Taffy last night.
Well, then I don't think it's laughing. It's salt water. They probably made their own salt water. Hey guys, there's a lot to pull out here. And I feel like a lot of us are just sitting and waiting for answers. We're the accelerated class. You guys got to be able to keep yourselves working. It should. It's math. That's why I like it.
I saw a pie pumpkin last night. It was a pie pumpkin. Oh, my sister. Oh, yeah.
We didn't even have time to carve pumpkins this Halloween.
I've never put pie Halloween.
So Mina, Why do you think she broke her line up into 8 pieces? Thank you. 10 pieces. Making sure we're paying attention. Some of us are just like, I didn't really eat much candy last night. Alright, why 10 pieces? 6 relates to our 60 through 10. And we know then that 6 milligrams would be 10%. Which means she needs how much more to satisfy her vitamin C requirements for the day? 90 more percent, which means how much vitamin C? 54. There are people who are very good at making sure they get what they need every day. There's a lot of math involved in that. Now, right now, you're going through puberty. You can essentially just put anything good in your body, not all candy, some candy. Anything decent in your body, and your body's going to like use it. As you get older, your body gets more specific with what it wants and meeting these kind of requirements to stay healthy. Now, if you decide that you don't want to be healthy, that's a personal choice you make, and some people make that choice, and they live off McDonald's. It's really easy math, actually. Such a female perspective. What you just said is totally invalid. By female, I mean like more sensible than the male, especially at this age. All right, Risa then was mixing blue and red paint to make purple. Love mixing paint. So hold up. Bring it back. So, Risa has 3 parts blue, 12 parts red to make 100% purple paint. So, what can you say about the mixture? What ratios, what comparisons? Talk with your team. I'll give you like 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah. Sure. Doesn't matter. Go for it. Write stuff
Yes, that's right, that's right.
So, respecting what color is which, I don't know if that's really confusing. Okay, that would be color deficient. You could be and still be able to differentiate them just from experience. I mean, yeah, if you're, it comes down to rods and cones. About a minute. May this one's coming to you. So essentially things I'm going to ask are like, if we look at blue or red, how do we express what portion of it do we need? So we use 3 parts blue and 12 parts red. How many parts total did we use? So we need to make comparison ratios of like blue compared to total or red compared to total to figure out what percent or what fraction of that we need. So, yeah, but using fractions would be easier. Because if you just told me that my total purple paint is 15 parts, then your 3 parts blue, this section will be 3 out of what? 15. Which reduces to what? So, can I bring everyone back together? Yeah. So, all right, bring it back together. May is my next participant up here. So, May and I have been chatting, and we figured out, namely she, if we have 3 parts blue and 12 parts red, we have 15 parts. I was very impressed. Then, I try to incorporate a little bit of humor. Then we said blue has 3 of the 15. May just got done telling me the reduced form of this is a fifth. Now, I always argue simplified fractions should, hopefully, not always, but should be a nice way to get to percents. Do you know what percent is a fifth? This is still going to May. Do you know? We can send out a call for help. It's a fifth of 100. Because that's 1/5 of our paint, right? 1/5 of the purple is blue. What is a fifth of 100? Anyway,
20%.
20 here, right? So we use 20%. However much purple we want, we got to use 20% of that quantity blue. So then what percent is red? 80. Now hold up. Let's say you're going to the paint store. Be careful with this question. And you've been told to make the purple, we're going to use a gallon of blue. How much red should you buy?
I think 4 gallons.
Why?
Because if 1 gallon equals 3 parts, then 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that's 4.
If we look at the comparison of red compared to blue, right now we have 12 compared to 3, which simplified is 4 compared to 1, which tells you red needs 4 for every 1 that blue needs. This is not a comparison of total. This is part to part, not part to whole. We got part to part here. So I'm not even really, I'm going beyond their questions, but a lot of times we use part to part ratios for those sort of situations. If I buy 1 of blue, how much red do I need? Moving deer?
Okay, so if you go and get 1 gallon of red, you need 1/4 of that, which is 1/4. So you need 1/4 blue.
Yeah, and I had said a gallon of blue. But yeah, if we got a gallon of red, think if this makes sense to everybody. If we turn this around and go blue compared to red, it would be 1 compared to 4. So my blue will always be 1/4 of my red. Does this make sense?
My question is just in my brain, I thought that to make like 100% purple, I thought you would need like an even blue and even red.
You'll end up with a deep purple. For the purple they want, it's more of a red purple. So, and it depends what shade of color do you want. And actually, sorry, because we brought this up, we might as well. I don't know if Smart does it or not. When you go to choose a color, a lot of times in programs like this, it will tell you, crap, not here. In Word or Paint, maybe it's Paint. Well, it tells you the percentages. So let's say I go to Edit. So see where it says hue and saturation and all this stuff, how much red, how much green, how much blue. It'll tell you the breakdown ratio. So I think I can fill in red, green, blue and make my own custom color. So you can play with this stuff if you want. But we use ratios all the time, especially when creating colors. All right, so here's my request. We only made it through part 1 of our lesson, right? 511. I'm not going to say, we need to do the whole homework now. 9 through 13 is really the practice set from this assignment. You may still only do 3 problems of it, but please do me the favor and look at all the problems to make sure you would be confident in solving them. If not, I still want to go over them together, even if you don't choose to solve that problem. If one looks like, oh, I would not, like, I don't want to do that one, tell me so we can go over it together. Does that make sense? So still, I'll give you a Halloween treat. Now, if you want to do the next lesson's homework, you probably can, the 3 from 18 to 22. You can go ahead and work on that, and you can get yourself ahead. But we'll leave this as the standing assignment. We'll try to get through 5.1.2 really fast tomorrow and move on in to the next section. So, sorry we didn't move as fast as we wanted, but I think today's class was good.
We are literally only doing 2 days with the section 5.
Well, no, not only. We're going to keep moving to 5.1.3 and like, yeah. We just are now, and we're done with chapter 4. We skipped the rest of it. All right, have a great day, guys. Happy November.